Hi there, this is a video I've been wanting to make for quite a while. A big nerd out on the bow drill. Right, I'm self-taught on the bow drill. I got an Ember on Go 4 and lost it out of the Tinder bundle, and then actually made fire on Go 5. But what I did, I slowly but surely read up on the subject, looking everywhere, social media, magazines, the lot. And then when I found a piece that I thought was suitable for the kit, I'd get it. I wouldn't just rush out and try it. Hopefully some of the things that are in this video will be useful to you if you're starting out on your journey. I've also done a one-to-one with Jason Ingermells and Dave Watson. I'll link to their websites below. One was a nerd out on the bow drill, and the other one was looking at various aspects of friction fire lighting. And I also got my first hand drill Ember with Dave. I also feature on the bow drill card in the top trump cards for the Scout Association, and also did an article for their outdoor adventure manual back in the day. So without further ado, let's start looking at some kit. So first of all, we'll start with the base. You've really got three styles of base that you can use, but they all should be the thickness of your thumb. You can do just a flat bottom like that, and then just take the working end off just to make a solo fire. This one here, by the way, is the first one I ever did wild. You can take the top and bottom off like that, but leave the edges on so it's half made. Or, because this is YouTube, I'm going to be using a nice flat one like this. This is plain the whole way. This is a piece of lime. One way to test a wood's suitability for bow drilling is as if you can dig your nail in and leave a mark, then it's good. Next up, the drill. So you're about to see some images flashing by on the screen here. I'll explain what they are in a minute, but first of all, the drill. This is hazel. This is what I'm going to use with the lime baseboard. Pointy at the top to go into the bearing block to minimise surface contact, and it's flat at the bottom to go into the board to maximise it. Each drill should really be wrist to elbow. There might be a little bit of variance depending how tall or small you are. Now, the picture's flashing. These are combinations that I've tried at home. I learned on willow. I like lime and hazel as my favourite. It's very smooth. I like poplar too. A lot of people also like sycamore, but I didn't really get on with that. So you pays your money, you takes your choice on the woods really. Here's a close-up of the pointy point at the bearing block end. Here's the flat or flatter point at the base end. One slightly left field choice is elder drill with a clematis base. That's your classic hand drill combination. I've had success with it, but the only thing is with elder, it's got pith down the middle. And this is what happens when you use it. You can see there's a little nipple formed where the soft pith won't engage. But there is a way of mitigating it to a certain extent. Bore some of the pith out the middle, baton a piece of wood into the middle. Like that. That's a piece of hazel. I've got a set of little individual brands that I've made out of paper clips, which I use to mark wood with that I'm not going to use for a while. So this is a newly acquired line drill that's now marked for when it's seasoned. Next we have the bearing block. If you're in a wood, your bearing block's probably going to be wood because there's plenty of it about. This is a piece of hornbeam. I've cleared the bottom off like that and put a small hole in. That's where the long pointy bit of the drill's going to go. Something a bit like this one. This is one I previously used, and you can see the scorching and the polishing within the depression. Also consider limpets. You're looking for big, deep, symmetrical shells. And just for reference, that's how you hold the limpets, but you need two. One for rigidity, and the second reason because they get very hot, and that's why I'm holding it in this kind of fashion here. You can also marry a limpet shell into an old bearing block like this. Now I've glued this with pine pitch glue, which traditionally melts when it gets hot, but it seems to hold it in place okay. Not sure why it's ended up on the diagonal either, but it still works. Some people also use stones with the depression in, but I've not found my forever stone yet, so I can't help you with that one. And now to the bow. I've got a few bows here, all of various woods and with a minimal curve on. Some people like a lot of curve to the bow, some like them almost flat. I'm sort of somewhere in between. And I've chosen this one out of all I've got simply because it represents the sort of curvature that I like, and it's also the standard length, which is really supposed to be fingertip to sternum, although I find that my bow in action comes probably more to there between my fingers rather than the whole length. But it's whatever you find that it suits you. And I have just got to show you this one. This is the first ever bow I got. It was a naturally curved bit of wood, super seasoned, and I thought it was the only curved stick in the world, so I took great care of it to the point where it started cracking. I even put 2 screws in it rather than looking for another. On the cordage front, arguably Paracord 550 is your most plentiful one to be able to get hold of. It's cheap and durable. Your laces are another good option because you'll almost certainly have them when you're out and about. Climbing rope can also be used too. There are also many natural options you can look at. This was a horseradish cordage experiment that didn't quite work because it frayed and broke, but you can also use things like nettle, and this one here is actually veg tanned salmon leather. This one was successful. When it comes to tying the cordage to the bow, I've experimented with several knots over the years. The first one is an archer's knot from the Ashley Book of Knots, name unknown. The second one is a round turn and 2 half hitches. The third one is an overhand loop, and the fourth one is a bowline. I've ultimately settled on the overhand loop as the fixed knot at one end and the round turn and 2 half hitches at the other, which is very easy to adjust either way. As regards fixing the cordage to your bow drill, you can put a hole through, you can utilise a Y-shaped stick, or carve some beak-shaped notches. The link to my video of how to do these is in the notes below. Finally, the Ember Pan. This doesn't need any more information. It's just a sliver of wood or a flat stone that's going to go underneath your board when you're generating the dust to catch it. There are several variations on the bow drill theme, but that's probably another video altogether. Now what we do, we just use the pointy end of the drill to put a little bit of foliage into the bearing block there. Sort of lubricates it and stops any smoke pouring out the top, which does occasionally happen. So now we've got all that together, we can start making fire. So what we're going to do first is make a depression in the wood, probably about, I don't know, 5mm back from the edge. Some people put it there. I personally like it here facing me. That's what you do. Just put your knife in like that, and what you're trying to do is basically form a rudimentary like concave shape in there to receive the drill. If your baseboard's quite soft, sometimes you won't need a big one, it'll just bed in naturally because the wood's soft. Because some people say you should use the same branch to make your set, some say the same wood, but equally lime and hazel work well together, so it's not something that I subscribe to myself. Let's have a look. Yeah, nearly there. Yeah, that'll do. There we go, that's what it looks like, and that's where the drill will go in the top there. And once you bow for the first time, they'll bed in and be sort of smooth together. And now to load the drill. This is for a right-hander, of course. What you do, you put the handle end into your hip there, you put the drill under the string with your drilling end as in to the baseboard that side, and then you slowly twist it like that. And it goes with a sort of, you can hear that creaking sound. Now it's got to be in there tight or else it'll slip, and one of the best ways to test is to grab it and try and slide it along the bowstring. If you can move it up and down like that, then it's not tight enough. So we're ready to go. Some people put their foot on like this with the ball, some people go further with the arch. Personally, I throw my ball on there and it's about 1 to 2 inches away from the actual drill position. So that goes on top like that, and then you need to get yourself right over it and just nice and slow. All this is doing is bedding in. It doesn't even have to go particularly brown on the wood or anything like that. This is just sort of getting them to say a hello to each other. And try and keep your drill as straight as you can, because the temptation is for it to keep going up like that with your hand action, and that can help to spin the drill out. There we go. I'm just starting to get a bit of smoke now, so it's a good sign. Right, and any time you stop, you always lift the set off, so you're ready to go again if needs be. Yeah, that's not too bad. When I'm not using the drill, I'll always stick the bearing block end in the ground to keep the other end away from moisture. And that's what you're looking to get, something like that. I'm pretty pleased with that. Now the next step is to take a little pie slice out of here. It's about 1/8, and what that does, it allows a gap for the dust as you start bowing to fall through with the Ember Pan underneath to catch it so it can coalesce. Now a lot of people use a saw like this. This is a Barco Lander. Jolly good saw it is too, but I find I get better results using a Swiss Army knife. I like it because the blade is nice and thin for detail. It's worth occasionally checking your angles. I'm quite pleased with that. I just finish it off with a knife because you need to get to the point in the middle and also make sure that the sides are clear, because the dust can actually stick to that and hamper your development of a coal. So again, maybe re-energise the greenery in your bearing block. Get it all together. A nice steady stroke. You should still be able to talk while you're doing this. Right, get over the drill. See, my leg at the back is at a 45-degree angle. If as well you ever decide to use your lace to power your drill, use this one and not the one at the back, because this will still stay flat and that will be trying to come off. Anyway. I can smell it smoking already, it's good. See, dust is coming out, copious smoke swirling up the drill. About this stage, just give it like 10 of your best strokes, a little bit of extra pressure. And stop. Hold the kit together, pull it off, in case you have to go again. Success, we have dust that is smoking on its own. Drill back in the ground again, just in case. And for reference, that dust is at 130 degrees centigrade. That's a good ember. That's why I like this combination of wood. So use something like a knife or a feather quill to get this out whilst holding the board. You can add the spare dust in as well, it doesn't hurt, but don't smother it. In the unlikely event that you can't find a piece of wood to use as your baseboard, this is like a slice off a big piece of wood. This is actually sweet chestnut, just for reference. I'll have a quick look at some suggestions of what you can put in your tinder bundle. Dried grass is obviously one of the most easily available materials that you've got. If you do harvest it, don't put it up by the roots, because obviously that won't do it any good. Now, I've just picked some of this earlier and it does actually form into a nice round bundle. And again, you can rub it to get the fibres split up a little bit more towards the centre. Sometimes grass isn't that flexible, so you have to have the long bits and then wrap it around a smaller bundle and do it that way. Long bits like this, where they just break like that. If I have the choice, I'll go for bladed grass every time. And you'll start to get this. This is about 3 minutes work. You can see how fine this grass is becoming, which will take an ember so much more readily than some of these longer bits that still need a bit of work. And this is a nice bonus. It's a little bird's nest that I've found. Perfect for putting the tinder in the middle and then the bigger, rougher stuff on the outside. Cleavers are a good alternative to grass because you can form them up into a good shape to take a softer piece of tinder in the middle. Bracken's also really good for putting in a tinder bundle too. The only thing is, you've got to be careful when you're harvesting it. If you pull your hands along the stems, it can sometimes cut you, and also you've got to think about ticks as well. There are various types of bark to consider, like this peeling honeysuckle, and this is edible chestnut. One of the best downy seeds to get is thistle because it's so readily available, and whilst it flares up it dies back to nothing and doesn't have any substance left, but it's still useful to help your tinder. And if you can get access to cattail, the seeds on that are fantastic. And this is rose bay willow herb, it has very downy seeds which can be useful too. This is a fungus known as cramp ball or King Alfred's cake, and it usually grows on ash trees. You can see here in the bottom right some that have been split open with the concentric lines inside. That gives way to part of its Latin name. Takes the spark very easily and is a great addition to a tinder bundle. Dead stinging nettle and jackbird hedge stems are good, especially when you've got grass that won't bend, to add to that. Silver birch bark's naturally flammable and a good addition. One additional bonus with silver birch trees is they shed a lot of very thin twigs which are ideal for once you want to get your fire going. Coniferous trees are also a great source of kindling too. Look for fuel like this that's been wedged, like this one has, or that are just hanging from branches, because if it's been on the ground, chances are it could be wet. These are the typical sort of gradings you want from the wood, from the very, very thin stuff to the left to the thicker stuff that's going to be your fuel at the end. Now this isn't illustrative of how much you need, it's just like a grading thing to look at. And just additional note on the thin stuff, one of the classic ways of laying them is across like that, so you've got a gap underneath. Now, the idea is to leave these a little bit longer so that if you then need to lift the wood up to let a bit more oxygen in, you can without burning yourself. Now, I've got a little bit of everything in this tinder bundle. So in that goes, it's coalesced after a few minutes. And wrap it around gently, because you need to let it have air, but it needs to touch the fuel as well. And we blow gently. should go quite quickly because it's quite dry stuff. Pull your head back, breath away. Yeah, look. There we go, just going to invert that. There we go, winner. Just for the record, this was the long grass bunch that had some dead stinging nettles and jack by the hedge in. So let's look at a little bit of troubleshooting. This nipple on the drill forms when you cut the V past the centre of the notch. And this depression's been cut too close to the edge and there's a high chance that the drill will keep popping out. The slight kink in this drill won't help keep it straight and level. This polishing will see the wood squeak like crazy potentially and also not generate much dust. When limpet bearing blocks break, everything quite literally grinds to a halt. Split or knotty wood can cause you all sorts of problems if you use it. This oversized notch will not only not generate enough dust, but you'll also see the drill flying out regularly. Always use cordage that's in good condition, or else you'll find it'll slip or break. Avoid punky or old wood because you'll find it'll be consumed really quickly or probably, in all honesty, just break up. Although a curved base can be partly buried in the ground to negate the problem, it's best avoided. Be aware that even in the summer you can get condensation from the ground. This lid was left on the lawn for a few hours and you can see there's condensation formed under it.